Good evening. Welcome to another exciting edition of So Into Bourbon. Charlie, tell them what we're doing tonight.
Tonight, we have a wonderful offering from Bardstown Bourbon Company, the KBS release.
Okay, so Bardstown Bourbon Company collaborative series.
Yes.
This is the Founders KBS Stout finish. And why don't you tell people what KBS Stout is in case they don't know?
If you're not a beer guy or gal or person, Founders is a beer company and KBS is Kentucky Breakfast Stout. This is a imperial stout brewed with a massive amount of coffee and chocolates, then cave aged in oak bourbon barrels for an entire year. So this is a barrel aged coffee chocolate stout.
Would you say that makes your taste buds squeal?
It makes your taste buds squeal with delight.
Okay, so now that we know what KBS Stout is, let's tell you about the bourbon in front of us. This is from Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is sourced from an unnamed Tennessee distiller, probably Cascade Hollow / George Dickel, based on the Mashbill.
Which is?
84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley.
Which pretty much means it almost has to be out of Tullahoma from George Dickel.
Yes. This is 110 proof.
Okay. It's 10 years old, right?
10 years old.
Okay.
Priced around $160, if you can find it.
That has been, and we were just discussing this, if there is anything negative that is being said around BBC and Bardstown Bourbon Company, is that they are proud of their product. They are
proud of their product.
But in this bourbon economy, that's kind of par for the course, really.
Yeah.
So, and there are worse things. Again, these are limited releases. They are very transparent with everything. This is not mystery bourbon. Even though it's undisclosed, they go out of their way to tell you what the mash bill is. You can do your powers of deduction. So it could be a lot worse. Let me say that. So this intrigues me because this is Tennessee whiskey that is then aged in a bourbon barrel that once housed a stout beer.
Yes.
So we're kind of like...
And it's aged 15 months. So after the 10-year aging process, they put it in this barrel for 15 months.
We take a used bourbon barrel, we put a stout in there for a year, then we dump that, then we put whiskey in it for 15 months.
Yeah.
I mean, we should get a lot of character out of that.
Very intriguing.
It should be. So,
let's, shall we know?
I think we should. Let's take a look and see if this is worth the $160 price tag.
Very nice color.
It really does.
Deep amber, copper color.
And let me just say one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we're in some rarefied air here. You do not see a lot of limited finished releases that use 10-year
No, you don't.
whiskey.
You really don't.
So should be
And
interesting.
You don't really see, 15 months is quite a while.
Quite a while for finishing.
Mm-hmm.
This has really interesting kind of cling to the glass. Like it's pretty viscous. Let's nose.
I smell chocolate.
Yeah, I smell chocolate and beer.
I don't smell beer, but
Yeah, I get that kind of that stout, that like a Guinness, that kind of grainy and chocolate. There's not a lot of ethanol, just a little tickle in your nostrils. Really nice nose.
it is a nice nose. I get, like I said, chocolate, and then I get a little bit of that cola.
Yeah, I get a little of that sweet kind of sparkle.
This makes me really want to drink it.
Yeah, it's got a really good nose. It really does, and it's
not.
It's really kind of complex. There's a lot of kind of flavor undertones there.
It's complex, but it's muted as well. Like, it's not an overpowering nose.
It's sweet. I like it. Okay, I'm excited now. Mouth is kind of watering. KBS. That's nice.
That is really nice.
That's really nice.
Packs a little punch.
Yeah, you got kind of a nice Kentucky hug on it. It's 110 proof, so that's kind of,
Man, I'm getting a malted chocolate.
Well,
like a overwhelming, which makes sense.
it's kind of what you want,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the whole thing with the releases like this. If you buy a KBS release, then obviously you're probably a fan of the KBS and you want that flavor profile to come through. You don't want to open this and be like, oh, I get notes of floral notes and lavender. Like, no, you want to be like, I want to taste the chocolate. I want to taste the beer. I want to taste that good bourbon character, and that's what you get.
I'm getting some coffee too.
It's coffee stout. That makes sense.
And I'm not just saying that because I know what's gone into it. That's really coming through. I don't, I don't taste beer by any means, but I am getting those chocolate and
Definitely.
coffee.
You definitely get the coffee. I get that coffee. That coffee note really comes through. The chocolate note's kind of on the front and the finish. And then the mid palate is all a little bit of that kind of cola spice, that cola tingle, a little bit of sweetness and coffee. It's almost like drinking an Irish coffee, right? Like if you poured bourbon or Kentucky coffee, if you pour bourbon into like a cold brew, it's kind of what it's like.
It kind of rounds out though with that malty.
Yep.
I don't want to say chalky because it's not chalky sounds disgusting, but that like a malted milk ball or milk dud. Is it milk dud?
Yeah. Malted.
Or are those the chewy things? What are the little Whoppers?
Whoppers.
Like a Whopper.
Yeah. I really like this.
I do too.
I think this is really good.
And it drinks every bit of its 110 proof too.
I like it. You know what we're gonna do now? Just for science.
We're gonna try the beer.
We're gonna try the beer, and then we're gonna go back
Should we palate cleanse?
to the bourbon. Do whatever feels right.
Man, I really like that.
I do too.
Well,
give you a little more there, Glennifer.
what's this glass you have here? Notre Dame. Yeah. Who did they lose to recently?
Want to go down that road?
The Louisville Cardinals? Is that who they lost to?
College football can really be a pit. I mean, it could be a pit of despair.
I see what you're doing there.
It could really. So,
it can be.
Should we examine color on the KBS?
Let's see.
It's black.
Motor oil?
It's black, and the brown. So this is not a beer review, but we're going to taste this.
This is the first here. We've never tried.
We've never done a beer
on
a thing.
Before.
Cheers.
Cheers, sir.
Oh, you know what? We should nose it.
I did.
Just chocolate and coffee.
Yeah.
Just chocolate and coffee.
Let's go.
Chocolate, coffee.
Now
syrup.
I know. Now we know where it got its flavor.
And this is what's awesome when you buy a special release like this, a collaboration, a partnership, a finished wine that uses, or a finished bourbon that uses a specified wine, if you can pick up whatever that finished product was, like the Founders or the wine, to be able to compare and have them at the same time, kind of opens up your palate.
Yeah, absolutely. Great beer.
It really is.
And it's what, 12.6% alcohol? Sure doesn't drink like it.
12.2% KBS, which is, I believe, a limited release, but it's
much more available than it used to be.
Than it used to be. But Founders does some great stuff. But this is, if you like a stout, this isn't a very potent like stout. It is a little light on its feet. It's drinkable.
Well, it's potent in regard to its alcohol content.
Yes. But it's a
dangerous.
very
dangerous.
a drinkable, very nice, and it is chocolatey. I get some like syrup in there, coffee. Yeah. It's really good.
This is a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
I could see where something like this could go horribly wrong, but I feel like the bourbon stands up like it should, and then the flavors you get from the stout barrel stands up.
Go back to your bourbon now. Get a lot of the similar. I'm starting to get like a maple syrup, like that kind of breakfast syrupy chocolate and coffee.
Yeah, it's interesting what that does after drinking it, after drinking the beer.
It really does. Because now this drink's really light.
It does.
Like real, like light and syrupy. That kind of chocolate coffee. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
Good
like
job, BBC.
So
Good job, Founders.
yeah, good. Hey, good job to everybody, right? I find it interesting, and I always assume that we have to assume, right, that the good people at these distilleries know what they're doing. I would love to know why they chose this particular mash bill and this particular distillate to go into those Founders. Because it works. It works really well. It works great. It's a unique mash bill, you know, and we know it's Dickel. I know it's undisclosed, but 84, 8, and 8. I would love to know why, like what the rationale behind it, because it works very well. I think it's really well executed.
I would agree 100%. And let's rate it. Before we do that, this gives me an idea for some future episodes.
Oh, good.
There are a lot of products out there that are either whiskey aged in beer barrels or wine casks.
Yeah.
There are wines aged in whiskey barrels.
100%.
Let's ask them, would you like to see us review a wine that's been aged in bourbon barrels or whiskey barrels? And I'm not a big wine person. I don't know if you are or not, so I don't have a lot of expertise.
Should we do some barrel aged products to see if is it worth it for the bourbon drinker?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Let us know in the comments. Are we rating this now?
Yep.
The only thing I don't like about that is the price. I understand it is probably a limited release and all that good stuff. It is 10 years old. It is very good and aged for finished for 15 months. That's incredible. I will give that a solid 7.5. Because I would go higher because I love finished whiskeys. I really do. I love finished whiskeys. But I have a hard time getting over that $160.
Yeah, that's a hefty price tag. I'm gonna go. You know what? I hate to do this, Charlie.
Do it.
I'm gonna be right there with you. 7.5. Yeah. The originality of it.
Yeah. Can't believe this hadn't been done before.
Yeah.
To take a KBS and age in a KBS, and maybe it has.
Maybe it has.
Done.
I don't know.
But this is what I like. Finished whiskeys, finished bourbons that are enhanced by the finishing product, but the process, and this is spot on, excellent.
Absolutely, and I get it to an extent why it's priced the way it is, because it's a very limited release, because you only have so many of the barrels.
And so many 10-year-old product is not inexpensive.
So I hate to
but it's still $160.
I hate to knock it, but
it's still $160. Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's cost prohibitive. That's why you subscribe to us on the YouTube, and we'll tell you, is it worth picking up? The answer is, it's worth picking up.
I was going to say, having said all that, ask me if I would buy next year's release.
Would you buy next year's
release?
I'm just going to drink this year's, and when he gets next year's, I'll drink that. Yeah, absolutely worth picking up. So,
Charlie, I'm going to sip on this beer while you tell them what to do.
You should like and subscribe to us on the YouTube channels, and don't forget about our socials. We have Instagram and Facebook at So Into Bourbon, and follow Glenn at his TikTok.
Whiskey Realtor.
That's right.
And as always, don't forget, keep your wallets loose.
And your bungholes tight. Good night, everybody.
Peace out. Boom. You didn't say action.
Action. One. Speed.
Okay, so Bardstown Bourbon Company collaborative series. Start over.
Start over. 3, 2, action. Shibum.
Kentucky Breakfast Stout. We drink stout for breakfast in Kentucky.
This is me. Ready. BBC Founders KBS. Take 3.